I didn't plan on doing this. When I started doing a couple of reviews based on Yu-Gi-Oh games, I had planned to finish with Wheelie Breakers, end the Yu-Gi-Oh reviews on a positive note, and move on to other games. I bought this game months ago, not even wanting to review it. It was just a game I had always been curious about, and I finally decided to check it out. For so many years, I had been wondering about this Yu-Gi-Oh game that I wanted to play but didn't have, and now that I've played it, it's just disappointing. It's like waiting for years to see a decent Superman movie and then getting a piece of... oh... And now I'm cursed to review every lousy game that I play because people give a crap about what I think, so let's do this. Several years ago, there was a spin-off of the Yu-Gi-Oh card game that was a board game played with dice instead of cards. It was called Dungeon Dice Monsters, and even though it was never nearly as popular as its card-playing counterpart, DDM was, I think, from my limited exposure to it, a fairly well-designed game. There's also a 4-part episode of the original Yu-Gi-Oh series dedicated to showing off the game, and fun fact, as a third or so consolation prize from a contest on Kids WB, I have that 4-part episode on DVD. I guess that's why the game has always been burned into my mind. I always wanted to give it a shot and play it for myself. And when I heard there was a Dungeon Dice Monsters video game on the Game Boy Advance, it just seemed like the perfect opportunity to experience the game without having to dump a bunch of money to get the board game. All these years later, I finally played the Dungeon Dice Monsters video game. And it sucks! Let's start by discussing how Dungeon Dice Monsters is actually played. You build a dice pool out of 15 dice, basically taking the place of your deck from the card game, and each die has a monster or an item inside it. At the start of each turn, you select and roll 3 dice from your pool. If you roll 2 summon crests of the same level, you get to summon one of your monsters whose summon crests you rolled. When you summon, or dimension a monster, the die unfolds on the board to create a path that monsters can walk across, but when you dimension a die, the path it creates has to touch some of the path you've already created. Each player has a die master that has 3 heart points. The objective of the game is to get a monster to the other side of the board and attack your opponent's die master 3 times to win. Dice have 6 different kinds of crests on them. Summon crests are used to summon monsters, movement crests are used to move monsters, attack and defense crests are used to battle, and magic and trap crests are used to trigger monster special abilities. Level 1 dice have weaker monsters but 4 summon crests apiece, and level 4 dice have uber powerful monsters but only 1 summon crest apiece, so the more powerful a monster is, the harder it is to summon. Each monster has a certain number of attack points, defense points, and hit points, and when a monster runs out of hit points, it's destroyed. The balancing of the different level monsters is a little suspect, though. There are level 3 monsters like Jinzo that have stats so low that they would embarrass a level 1 monster, and the most powerful dice I have in the game are level 2 monsters because of their abilities. I guess the power of dice is determined less by level and more by rarity. Each dice has a different use. Low-level monsters are great for building a dungeon path when you need it and getting fast, though expendable monsters. High-level monsters are much more powerful and will last a long time but are extremely difficult to use. So do you go for weak monsters that won't last but give you plenty to work with, or do you go for strong monsters that will give you an edge, though at the cost of probably wasting a lot of your turns to summon? Which dice do you hold in reserve for the crest that they provide, and dice don't come back after you use them? Which ones do you save for later? There's layers of strategy to the game, and that's on top of the inherent unpredictability of using dice to play the game, so you have to kind of plan for failure since you'll never know which dice rolls are going to work or not. So if Dungeon Dice Monsters is a fairly well-designed board game, why does the Game Boy Advance game suck so bad? Well, there are 2 main reasons why the video game fails. 1, it is nearly impossible to get new dice, and 2, the AI is, what's the word I'm looking for? Stupid! No, actually, no. Calling the AI stupid is insulting to stupid people. The AI is brain dead. It is too stupid to eat. It is completely unable to do anything with any remote degree of competence. I'm going to go out on a limb and just put this out there. Outside of big rigs, this may be the worst AI that I have ever seen. Seeing as how the entire objective of the game is to take out your opponent's die master, you'd think that protecting your die master would be a pretty big priority to any player that's in a tight spot. The computer disagrees. The AI does not even attempt to protect its die master. If you get a monster to the end of the board, you can slaughter it with no resistance. The AI will dimension monsters around its die master so that you have some barricades to smash through, but the AI will almost never attempt to destroy a monster that is within striking distance of its die master. That is the equivalent of not even trying to protect your king in chess. You can literally be at the enemy's doorstep, securing the finishing blow that will win you the game, and the AI will remain convinced that it can still get its lone remaining Karibo to the end of the board and beat you. It's like the Black Knight from Monty Python missing both arms and one leg and still bumping into King Arthur because he still thinks he can win. The AI is programmed to do two things. Lower level enemies are programmed to dimension monsters around its Die Master, not to actively defend it just to get in your way and stall you. Higher level enemies are programmed to make a beeline right for your Die Master, and medium level enemies do a mixture of the two. Basically, the further you get into the game, the enemies get more aggressive, but not any smarter. The AI doesn't even attempt to take out your monsters because that'd violate the Prime Directive, and you'd think that would be a viable strategy since each player is only allowed 10 dimensions per game, so each destroyed monster is a major casualty. The AI proactively attacks your monsters so rarely that I'm still not sure how the AI decides when to attack you. Most of the time, the AI will just live and let live with your monsters, but every now and then they'll single out one monster, decide, screw that guy, and chase it down until it's dead. 95% of the time, you don't have to worry about any of your monsters getting attacked, and you're free to stroll right past your opponent's monsters and head straight for their hard points. Basically, the AI has so many restrictions on when it can attack that the AI is forbidden from defending itself. The AI will make no effort to destroy your advancing monsters, even if it has the ability to do so. And even with the simple instructions to do nothing except go straight for your heart points, the AI doesn't even do that right. Not only will the AI literally head straight towards your Die Master and send its monsters walking into dead ends as a result, but rather than having one monster go for your Die Master and win quickly, like an intelligent person, the AI wastes a ton of movement crest by trying to have multiple monsters converge on you at once. Look at how big the board is. One movement crest lets you move one space. Moving multiple monsters at once is not feasible, but the AI can't get that through its thick subroutine. The AI also never uses the special abilities of its monsters. One time I was dueling Yugi and he got a Thunderball on the field. Thunderball lets you pay a few magic crests and destroy the nearest monster, and Yugi had 30 magic crests. He could have demolished every monster I had on the field and had crests left over, but did he? No! Because he's an idiot! The only special ability I've seen the AI use is Orgoth the Relentless's ability to raise its attack points every turn, and the AI will build entire decks around the Lord of Dragons, which protects dragon monsters, but that's it. The AI won't use its items either unless it walks into them on accident. There's an item called the Exploding Disc that deals 20 damage to the monsters that triggers it. I shit you not, I've seen the AI nuke its own monsters with its own exploding discs. Also, Kaiba never uses his energy disc items, so my monsters get free 20 attack power boosts. See, the reason why this is problematic for the enemy is that if you give a Knight of Twin Swords a 20 attack power boost, he can do 120 damage per turn. The most powerful monster in the game has 60 hit points. Do the math. The AI also will not set foot on your dungeon path unless there is nothing between its monsters and your Die Master. So not only is the AI forbidden from defending itself pretty much, but it also, under most circumstances, it's forbidden from attacking you. So the AI often gets gridlocked in its own code to where it can't do anything, and will spend several turns with its monsters sitting still, doing nothing. So the AI isn't even a threat most of the time. It doesn't feel like a threat to you because its monsters will spend most of its turns doing nothing. The key difference between weaker duelists and higher level duelists, aside from their aggression, is that the later duelists have level 3 and 4 monsters, but you can give a dumbass the best gun in the world, they'll still just blow their own foot off with it. There are times when the AI seems to select the dice it rolls at complete random, mismatching levels for no discernible reason. The AI will go for high-level summons whenever the mood strikes them, and they will continue to go for that high-level summon until they succeed. This sometimes leads to fights where you can stroll up to the enemy Die Master with nothing in your way, because the AI has spent the entire game going for a level 4 summon and failing turn after turn after turn. Just trust me, pretty much the only time you'll ever lose a fight is if you ignore an enemy that's getting close to the end, or if your luck is astoundingly bad, which usually is your own fault for using the wrong dice. So basically, you only lose in this game if you sabotage yourself. Oh my god, 4 paragraphs of my script dedicating to explaining how dumb the AI is. This is so not what I hoped for when I bought this game. And not only is the AI dumb, but because every duelist in the game is programmed with the most basic tactics imaginable, most of the duels are not only way too easy, but most of the opponents just feel identical. You can use your dice in any order you want, and you quickly get into a rhythm where you do the exact same thing every duel. I start with a few level 1 summons to build my path quickly. I usually start with Mammoth Graveyard to buff up my beast monsters, then I get any of my level 2 or 3 monsters on the field, and then I stockpile crests to dash for the enemy die master and smash whatever's in my way. I keep a few level 1s in reserve so I can quickly build some dungeon path to cut off the enemy if I need to. This strategy always works unless I'm having astoundingly bad luck. I never have to shake up this strategy, I just do the same thing every single fight. I honestly think you could beat the most difficult tournament in the game with your starter deck, and you just about have to because of how difficult it is to get new dice in this game. Every time you win a duel, you get one die selected at random as a prize, usually one from your opponent's deck. The problem is that the vast majority of the dice that you get when you win are crap. I've beaten Duke Devlin, the guy who created the game in the anime, 7 times. Of the 7 dice I've won from him, that cheap bastard has given me 1 Orgoth the Relentless and 6 crappy level 1 dice I had at the start of the game. It's like, wow, you have defeated the person who invented the game. Here's the twin-headed dragon I put in all the starter decks for the amateurs to use. Shithead. It takes several hours of gameplay to get any decent dice out of your opponents because of how the game is coded. After you've beaten the game, you can duel some higher level enemies like Yami, Yugi, Kaiba, and Merrick, and they give you rare dice a bit more frequently, but this just means you alternate between fighting 3 people to get your dice. You can also get dice by purchasing them from Grandpa's shop, but the shop doesn't have a good selection until you've beaten the game, and it has ridiculous prices. There are only 2 ways to earn money in this game: either sell your dice or win a tournament, and you don't get any cash for a free duel. You have to win an entire tournament to get money. The hardest tournament in the game gives you about 1,000 gold every time you beat it. Moderately useful dice like Mammoth Graveyard cost 3,000 gold apiece, Exodia pieces are 30,000 gold apiece, and level 4 monsters of any variety or monsters with decent effects cost well over 30,000 each. Again, 1,000 for beating the hardest tournament in the game. Want to crunch the numbers for me on how many tournaments you have to win to buy 1 useful die? Put simply, if you want to get good or even decent dice added to your inventory, you have to play for a long time. Hours upon hours of playtime until the game decides to throw you a bone. It gets to the point that you won't even bother going to the store because you have to play for hours and hours to save the money for 1 die out of dozens. I'd rather do free duels and see what I get out of them. The dice you get are random, but you get dice faster. I thought I had a brilliant idea to get some quick gold in the game. You can fight the Exodia Rare Hunter, and most of the times you beat him, he gives you an Exodia piece. I figured I'd fight him several times, get a ton of expensive Exodia dice, and sell them for instant piles of money. This is what I would have done if Exodia pieces weren't only worth 2 gold apiece when sold. 30,000 to buy, 2 to sell. Dicks. And I admit this is nitpicking, but do you see how when you go to free duel an opponent it lists win, losses, and washouts? The washout count keeps track of how many times you've quit a game or how many times you've turned the game off in the middle of a duel. I know that I shouldn't care because it's just a meaningless number, but this is a handheld game. Handheld games are built to be played on the go, and when on the go there comes times when you have to turn the game off to go do something. Why does the game make a note of me turning the game off like it's some kind of mark of shame? And the Pokemon trading card game on the Game Boy Color, if you turned that game off in the middle of a duel, you had the option of resuming the duel the next time you turned the game on. It's a really neat and massively convenient feature. So how come no Yu-Gi-Oh game has ever used it? And I have no way of proving this is just a hypothesis based on observations. I think the game screws with your luck. I swear the game will mark some of your dice as being unlucky to where you won't roll jack if you try to use them, because I have had streaks of bad luck that defy probability. We're talking using level 1 dice, and not rolling squat 10 times in a row. Hunting down dice in your inventory is also a pain in the ass. There's no way to sort dice in your inventory, so if you want to look for monsters of a certain type, look specifically for certain level dice, look for flying or tunneling monsters, or search for dice that have a certain kind of crest on them, all stuff that would be pretty simple to program into the game. There's no way to search or sort your dice in any ways. Okay, I'll try to steer into a few more positive things about the game. The battle animations when 2 monsters fight are really well rendered, except they take so long that you'll soon turn them off so the game ends sooner. There are a ton of enemies to fight in the game, including Yugi's mother, which intrigues the hell out of me since his parents were never mentioned in the show. Every enemy also has different lines of dialogue when you challenge them depending on your record against them. It's simple, but heck, I like it. It seems you are immune to my Millennium Eye. Oh, what, you can't read my mind, Pegasus, since you're stuck in a video game? Go ahead, try and read my mind. Try it. I want to see what happens.
praised, the colorectal surgeon misunderstood and much maligned, slaving away in the heart of darkness, working where the sun don't shine.
Ooh. I am pain is cupcake. I will eat you.
Your mind, like a sack of angry parrots, gnashing their way to freedom.
The problem is that even though there are a lot of enemies, most of them feel the same. A lot of monsters don't have abilities and the AI doesn't use the ones that do, so everybody's got generic dice and generic decks and everybody feels the same, on top of just being pants on head retarded. It's really not hard to figure out why this game is such a massive failure. Dungeon Dice Monsters, the board game, is a well-designed game, but if the only people you can find to play against are blithering idiots that don't know how the game is played, and there isn't a single opponent that offers a remote challenge, there's not much point to playing now, is there? This is the very definition of wasted potential, because there was a good game in here, and if you get a copy for you and your friend and you two battle it out in multiplayer, it'd probably be fun, but in single player, which is how Game Boy games are almost always played, the AI is so bad that the game should go down in legend. It is so utterly incompetent that the game is way too easy and offers almost no stimulation. It quickly becomes a slog to play through, and no video game should ever be boring. Be frustrating, piss people the hell off, just don't be boring.